What's up, everybody? We are playing the final release version here of The Farmer Was Replaced. I have reviewed this game and I put my review up yesterday. You can find it at the link at the bottom of the screen, but we're going to do a fresh playthrough here, and I'm going to show you some little tips that I've learned as I've been playing this. Full disclosure, I have been playing this for a while, so I have done all the unlocks, but we're going to play this from the beginning and I'll give you some tips. And feel free to put questions in the chat room and I will try my best to answer them for you. All right, here we go. Let me switch up my screens here. There we go. And you can also, I think there may be drops for this, so enjoy, make the most of it. Okay, here we go. So we're getting started here, right? The idea of this game is it's a farming game by way of doing a little programming, which is fun. And don't worry, if you're not a programmer, again, read my review. But if you're not a programmer, don't worry. It walks you through every step and you're going to learn some stuff along the way. So we're going to get started here. We're going to write our first program. This is our farm over here, right? And then you can see that we have these characters here. In fact, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to restart the game. So give me 1 second here because I want to make sure that I absolutely give you a fresh start. All right, here we go. Okay, so we're gonna start a new game here. Like I said, we got this here, and I'm gonna put this coding window over here. This is our farming drone, and this code window here. I'm gonna start by showing you. I'm gonna click this. This is all the unlock tree, right? So we're gonna the more resources we farm and harvest here, we get to unlock things and make things better. And I'm going to switch that up there. Okay, let's see. Make sure that's going there. All right, bandwidth is a little itchy. I don't normally stream this early in the day, but it should be okay. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we got this one block, and we can say, okay, while true, which in this case is going to be forever, and it's basically based on Python, right? We're just going to say the only command we have right now is harvest. So we're just going to harvest, right? And if you ever want to know any information, click on the I here and you will get access to all of this here. And this expands as you get further unlocks, right? Just to make that clear. So if I, for example, click on harvest, you can see here it says, hey, the harvest command harvests the entity under the drone. If you harvest an entity that can't be harvested, it will be destroyed. It returns true if an entity was removed, and so on. So we're just going to call this command. And the while true basically is, hey, while this script is running, it's always going to run at this point, right? So if I do this, you can see that it's going to say, hey, unlock loops must be unlocked. Did that intentionally so that you can see if you try to jump ahead here and use functions that are not unlocked yet from the unlock tree, you're going to have a problem, right? So at the very beginning, you have to go back and say, all right, I got to do this by hand. So I run it once. You can see up in the corner here, hey, I got 1 hay, right? Outstanding. Well, to get the while loop here, I need 5 hay. So I think you figured this out. We're going to do this 5 times. Right? Now that I've got that, I can go over to the tree, I can unlock it, it'll give me the instructions while some condition, right, and harvest. Again, you can see down here, it's going to say, look, hey, make it do a flip, right? So I'm just going to copy that. And so while true, do a flip. And we're talking about the little piggy. So let's do this, right? While true, do a flip. I'll move this over here. Actually, sorry, we're not talking about the piggy. We're talking about the drone. So you can see it's going to make the drone flip, right? So now we've got this loop. We can automatically start harvesting. There you go. Practically writes itself, right? Our first successful script with a loop sending it off to the little piggy. Now, while that's happening here, we can look ahead. So if I want to unlock hats, I need 50. If I want to unlock the speed, I thoroughly recommend you unlock speed and increasing the yield of your harvest as much as possible, as quickly as possible, because you will need a lot of things, all right? And then you can expand the size of the farm, do that too. Also, we can unlock other plants. So we're going to let this go here, right, for a minute. We're going to get this up to 300 here to double the yield. So instead of getting 1 per harvest, we will get 2 per harvest. Right, so we're going to let this run here for a little bit. While that is doing that, I'll show you a few other things. You can click here again to get the tree. If I click here, I can create a new file. You are not limited to one code window, but think of each window as a file because you can actually save multiple files. They are saved as .py Python files. Pro tip here for you developers out there, if you want to, you can even use your own IDE or code editor, text editor, whatever of choice, and edit these scripts outside of the game, so you can use an editor that you're familiar with. How cool is that? How often do you get that in games, right? So I'm going to delete that one. I don't need this one right now. This is happily going here. The other thing I love is, look, you can see the code executing here, right? It's highlighting it. Hopefully you can see that on the screen rate of the capture here. So we have this basic script running here. We're up to 260. Again, I recommend you get these unlocked to increase the yield as quickly as possible, right? So we can leave it running. We don't have to stop it. When this gets to 300, I'm going to tap this. Now I'm using the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out and click and drag to pan around. You can see it's now saying, look, hey, I can do this, right? If I click, notice how this little side bit goes up. That shows you how many unlocks you've done and how many to get to the top. All right, so once you've completed it, it'll turn green. Hopefully that's clear. So see that we're getting 2 per each one now, right? But now I need to unlock wood to progress this further, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the speed here. This is the movement speed of the drone and the execution of it. At the moment, I've only got 1 block, so it's not going to be moving anywhere. But you can see it's now harvesting quicker. Super important, right? Again, every time you unlock something, it's going to give you this window here to say, look, here's all the information you need to know and examples of how you can use it, right? It's an important one here, right? Can harvest, because you may be passing over quicker than something is growing. So you want to check and see if you can harvest. It's not a problem right now, but it's important to know when we get there a little bit later on. I can also hover over the block here, and you can see it's going to give me the growth rate, how many I get per harvest, the water level. Later on, it'll give me some other things as well. So important thing here, especially if you're a programmer, right? Notice the 0, 0. 0, 0 is the block I'm on right now. As the size of the farm expands, that'll become, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, and so on and so on. That, again, is important for movement and everything else in your scripts, right? So you can see right now, we can't really do too much else to expand these because we need wood, right? And we can unlock hats. So we're gonna have a green hat. So actually, let's do, what the hell? Let's do a green hat, right? So I'm going to copy that command, close this window. Let's stop my script here. And I'm going to put this at the very top. So the very first thing, we only need this to execute once. So while the loop is running, we don't need to execute this every time. That is not very efficient, right? But if I run it now, green hat. you get the idea, right? So this is now running here with my green hat. Okay, we're gonna keep going here, and we're gonna start looking at some of these, right? So again, I can expand the size of the farm. I'll do that in a second. But we can plant entities, bushes. Bushes will give us wood, right? So I'm going to click on this. It's going to say, hey, look, great, awesome. I've now can plant bushes. I want to point out, not only on the tree window, if I go over, if I'm going to use my mouse wheel, I can actually zoom in and out. If I click on the, hover over the background here as well. This is important because you're going to want space for your scripts and information, but also as the size of your farm expands, right? So we can plant bushes. So let's do that. What we're going to do is we're going to say, let's move this closer here, right? Okay, so right now we're going to harvest. First thing I want to do is harvest whatever's underneath it, and then I want to plant, whoops, plant and their entities dot bush. Right, I'm just going to close the code there. I'm going to run it again. And you will see now, look, I am having a problem, right? Because the bush is not growing. I'm trying to harvest it before it's ready, okay? That's why we care about this. If can harvest, right? So if that's true, go ahead and harvest. And then plant a bush, okay? Otherwise, it's not going to do anything, right? So now it's going to wait until that bush is 100% grown and then harvest. Super important tip there, right? Okay, so thankfully, we only need to get a small amount here to increase the speed and expand the size of the farm. So let's do this, right? What we're going to do is we're going to go back. I'm going to show you how to set this up here. We're going to go back now and expand the size of the farm. So to do that, I actually need grass. So I'm just going to replace that. We're going to run it here. Right? But now a lot of this is going to be like this pattern here. You're going to repeat this a lot, okay? This is kind of your safety. Don't do something unless you can do it, basically is what we're telling the drone. So I'm going to click to expand the size of the farm and unlock movement. See how we've now got 3 in a row, okay? And we can move north, east, south, and west, okay? So what we can do is let's update our script, right? So while true, move north. So we actually don't want to do it at the beginning. We want to do all of this, and then after we've processed all of that, we're going to move north to the next square and repeat. Now when I run it, see how it's now great. Now we're moving through each 3. Again, this is a pattern you're going to repeat throughout now. The whole thing here. This guy NZ, how are you doing, my friend? What's up, buddy? You're gonna love this game, my friend. We are. I was under an embargo, so I couldn't talk about it until now. But this is a game for programmers or people who just like to automate farming. So I'm writing a Python script here, which is basically the premise of this game is do my farming, but use scripting to control my drone. It is awesome fun, my friend. It really is. I totally got into this in a big way. I have a completed game. Well, not quite complete, but if you want, I can show you what it looks like later on when it's crazy and you've unlocked everything. But I wanted to start from scratch here for the audience. Yeah, and I've got again, it's a link, peterwitham.com/TFWR. You can see my full review of this now that I can talk about it. But you can see that this is going great here, right? So we got all these things going on, right? Let's start to look at other things. We've got our bush here. You can see that we can unlock either carrots, we can unlock the print command, or operators. Well, this is how this sort of works. On the right side here is basically your programming interactions, your functions, your operators, all those kind of things. For example, writing functions, importing files, all this kind of stuff. In the middle one, this is kind of your helpful debugging type stuff, right? And then on the right side, for the most part, is all the different resources. For example, trees, right? Water, pumpkins, and so on and so on. Again, you're going to balance these however you want to play the game, which is important, right? Now, what we're going to do here is, again, for me, I recommend expanding the amount of yield you get for each thing, the speed of things, and the size of your farm. That will be my recommendation, okay? Now, you will reach certain points, like we did with the wood, where it's like, okay, to get carrots, I got to get 50 wood, right? But I don't need carrots quite yet, so I can keep focusing on these. So, for example, right, I got this grass here. I need to really get a better yield on the grass. I've got 2 of 10 unlocked, right? So we need to keep going here with this. Your interface on this might look slightly different depending on the version of the game you're playing. Like I say, I was playing a pre-release, so you know, I've seen this go through different iterations. By the way, you can play this on Windows and Linux. I did it on both. The screenshots in the blog post are from the Linux version. It's going to look identical to the Windows version, but I just want to mention that. So yours may look slightly different depending on which version you're playing here. Obviously, the developer has been very receptive. I gotta say, the developer was very receptive to changes. There's also a link in my blog post to their Discord, which not only gives you lots of useful information, but you can provide feedback and people putting scripts in there for various things as well. All right. So let's take a look at this, right? Let's see where we're at here. Okay, we are gonna go for increasing this yield here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this back. For the programmers out there, these are enums, right? So I can just use the arrow keys here and I'm gonna say change it to a bush. So you don't have to worry about typos. If you get a typo in your script, by the way, it will tell you. I'll do it here intentionally, right? I'm gonna get something wrong here. Actually, that won't trigger it. Let's do this. If I do, I'm going to do a typo. It'll say, hey, there's some kind of error here, right? This doesn't exist. And sometimes you will see a little warning icon up here as well in the debug. So it's going to help you, right? Don't be afraid. But again, this documentation here expands as you unlock things. So, and every time you unlock something, it'll open the information window to tell you about it, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So we're going to keep going here. It is a little slow at the beginning, as with all farming games, right? So we got to get to 500 there. But we can increase the speed. But there's not much point right now. I don't really need this to move quicker because it's already moving quicker than the bush is growing. Later on, as we unlock, we have options that we can choose on the unlocks to make the bushes grow quicker and make everything grow quicker. The tip there is it's going to be the water, right? So over here where you got watering, you don't have to do anything to get water. You would automatically get water over time, and you basically increase the speed at which you get water because you will run out, okay? So, for example, if I now click on this, I've got enough, right? Well, let's do this. So, actually, sorry, I got to unlock this one first because it's grayed out. So, we're going to unlock the carrots, all right? For the carrots, you don't want it to be grassland. You need to till the land here, right? We're farmers, remember, okay? So now I can unlock this. I'm going to let this go to get to 50 because I want you to see what this does. And again, what I like here is I get to choose how I want to unlock this tree, right? The only rule put upon me, of course, is I've got to unlock the one before it to get to the thing that I want, okay? So, again, I'm just zooming in and out with the mouse here. So we will get this to 50, and you will see what difference this makes. Come on, little farmer dude, drone. Farmer drone dude. Dude. Drama, drone. We got to give him a name. Let's call him Kevin. Kevin the drone, all right? And the little piggy that collects them, we're not going to give him a name. It's not worth it. Actually, you know what? In honor of my friend, this guy NZ, who's writing an awesome game, we're going to call the piggy drone Fred. He will get the joke. So will everybody else who attends my streams and has seen his stream. You totally should check out his stream. Okay, so I've got to 50. I'm going to unlock the water here. All right. Now, what it's going to say is plants grow faster when they're watered. The ground has a water level ranging from 0 to 1. The function get water returns the water level that the ground is over. So notice now when I hover over this, remember we said water level was 0, right? That's why it's important now. So again, I'm just going to rearrange these windows a little bit. I'm going to leave the script running here for a second, but you can see a tank holds 0.25 water. Over time, look, I'm getting water, but it's slow, okay? That's why we want to keep upgrading that to improve that speed. This guy, see, I knew you'd get it. Fred the pig, right? So we can use the water to speed things up, right? Our plants will grow quicker. So if I run out of water, this is where you will see that error start to hit. So I'm going to plant the bush and then I'm going to use the item water. I've only got 7. It's not going to last long. But it will affect the speed here, right? See, it's growing a little bit quicker, right? Because the ground has some water, right? But watch what happens when I reach 0. I don't have any water. I've got this warning icon. Your code triggered a warning. Click the icon to view the details in the output window. It's saying, try to use items water, but I didn't have enough of it. Didn't. But it's not going to hurt it. It's just a warning. And we can ignore that for now. But always pay attention up there when it gives you a warning. Because if you, at the end, sort of an end game thing here, when you unlock the leaderboard where there's challenges to, sort of against other people who can do things the quickest, you're going to want to optimize. And so knowing when you run out of something is going to be important. Okay. But again, we can, upgrade this. You can see I'm getting 0.1 per second, right? So I'm going to want to focus on that, all right? But when I get to 200, I can upgrade that. Now, this is where you start making your choices. Do I upgrade that, or do I start working on the speed and the yields and everything else, right? These are choices for you to make, okay? I can expand the farm again. I'm going to click that. Boom. Now look what's happened. I've now got more than one column, right? So got a bit of a problem here, okay? Because I'm only moving north. These other 2 are wasted. Now what this is going to tell me is, hey, okay, you know what? You're going to want to make things better. So first of all, we're going to use this get world size so that as the world size expands, we don't have to figure out like, oh, I got 3, now I got 5 in length or whatever. We're just going to get that using the script, right? Now we're going to use that along with something else here. Again, this is going to be something you are going to use all the time, probably, mostly. I use it all the time. So you're going to see, it's going to give me a hint, right? For I, in range, get world size, may be helpful to turn this idea into code. So what, I know the solution, but for the benefit of all of you, I'm going to click this, right? We're going to use I and J. So we're going to move up and then across and do the next one again, right? Again, this is something you are going to do a lot, right? So don't be afraid to make new scripts and experiment with things. But this pattern is absolutely something you're going to use all the time, right? So you got to get your indentation right. So move up. Right? I'm gonna tab these across so they keep working like they should. But here's the thing, right? In this inner loop, we will want to move north. But on the outer loop, we're going to want to move across one. Once we've finished going up to the top of the row, we're going to want to move across. So now we're going to move east. Now when I run it, see what's happening here? It's moving across. Now you're going to look at this and you're going to go, but wait, it's moving weirdly. Yes, because remember, it's only going to perform actions if we can harvest, right? If not, because of our loop here, we're telling it, if you can't harvest, just move on to the next one. So it's going to move to the next available harvest, which may not be in this exact order, okay? That's why I'm saying these speeds and the yields and everything else is important, okay? So if we go back here, right, and, you know, like if you look down here at the trees, well, our trees at the moment, we're, you know, it's not unlocked. Trees will yield more than bushes, but there's a complication with that, and I'll tell you about that in a second. Again, these are some extra tips. So play this, you know, again, you're going to get some tips in the blog post, link at the bottom of the stream, but I'm going to give you some tips as we go here. So if you don't want spoilers, you know, or you're playing, you want to play along, it's up to you. So first of all, right, to get more grass, we're going to need to yield 500. Okay, to expand the farm again, we now need carrots and wood. I think you see how this is going, right? We've already unlocked bushes. We don't need to worry about that. However, again, like I say, trees will give you more wood per yield, but they're slower to grow, and there's a complication that will come into play, and we'll talk about that. But for right now, we got this working like this, right? And some of you may be thinking, well, but wait, surely we can plant multiple things. Yes, we can. However, to do that, that's where we have got to start looking at things like over here, where we can use variables and operators and, you know, all lists and functions and all of these things to expand what we're doing, okay? So if I go back, and we've got these here, right? But notice again, this is expanded slightly, right? But because I gotta find it here. Hold on. Now we've got, you know, we've got these operators, right? So we can check the value of I and j. Well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because of this, right? We're only yielding bushes. But how about this, right? So as we work up each row, we can say, hey, you know what? If you can harvest, harvest. But if if I equals 0, remember how I was saying these x and y are important? This is why this is important. That's 0, 0. This is y equals 1, all right? And y equals 2. So we can say, hey, if I equals 0, right? Go ahead, plant a bush, right? But else if I equals 1, which is going to be this block right here, or this block right here, or this one right here, we want to do something different. So we want to plant entities grass. Okay, let's run this. Something weird happened, right? There's an error. Unlock operators must be unlocked before it can be used. So again, program is going to be like, what? But hang on a minute, right? We haven't actually unlocked this, right? Now we have. Now it'll happily go along and do this, right? So look, you can see what's going on here, right? But it's not performing quite how we want it. So this is where you start to play. And nothing says you have to follow the rule that I've got here, right? So start to look at what you've got, right? So we're saying X is 0, Y is 0, Y is 1, right? So think about this. This is for the first row, right? And the reason I did this is because I want you to understand this concept if you're not familiar with programming. We got two I and J are two different values here, right? So we can say, hang on a minute. Maybe that should be J. Let's try that. But we don't really understand what's going on because it's working on things that already exist, okay? So what I do at the beginning of every script is I use this command, clear. And what that does, if we look at the documentation, you got to find it. Where are you? Clear. There it is. This removes everything. So for programmers out there, this is like reset everything and run my code again, right? So that's what I like to do. Every time I start a script is wipe the slate clean so that I can understand exactly what's going on, right? So it'll reset everything back to grass, right? But now you can see, oh, wait, okay, everything's planting bushes. You would never have figured that out without that clear, right? So let's go back. Let's do this. All right, let's run that. Again, the clear command will wipe the slate clean. Right, now you can see the first one in every one here. Oh, okay, I get it. So if I equals 0, if I'm on this first row, right, it's planting bushes. For everything else, it's planting grass. Okay, that's your key right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it like that for now. It's fine. You can do this however you want. All right. But I'm now gathering two different resources as the script runs, as the drone moves through the farm. Again, it's warning me about this water. Well, we really need to do something about this, right? I need 200 to boost the water. I'm going to click it again. I've now doubled. I'm getting 0.2 seconds to get some water. It's not great, but it's helping a little bit, right? The other option here is do it the bad way. I'm just going to stop my script and wait. Don't do that, right? But I want you to understand that you're always gathering water. That's the key point here, okay? And I think my bandwidth is getting a little choppy. My bandwidth it's the middle of the day here, Texas. Spectrum sucks. Bandwidth is a little choppy right now, okay? So it's going to be up and down. So sorry about that. Can't do anything about that. Okay. So at least we're getting two resources. But wait a minute. We got this third one we unlocked, carrots, right? Well, why are we not taking advantage of that? Well, let's do that. Right? So we could say, hey, you know what? We're going to do grass there. And if I equals 2, plant entities dot carrot. But you may remember to do carrots, we have to till the land. It told us we need to do that. And I'm going to do this, and there's going to be a problem. And I'll walk you through it. Great, it tilled the land and put carrots. The carrots are growing, right? That's awesome. However, it's going to be a snag, and I'll let it run through and you'll see what happens. look what happened. It tilled it back to green. Let's just call it green, right? For grassland. Well, that's not really cool, right? I mean, that's not great at all. So what we can do is, I'm gonna see if I got the command yet. I gotta remember because it changed slightly. I don't think I have it yet. Let's click on the till, right? So tills the ground under the drone. It toggles between soil, and if it's soil and we do it again, it's going to change it back to grassland, and vice versa, right? So we need some way of figuring out what it is and only do what we need once, because it's not very efficient, right? So if get, and you will see, well, I know the name of the command I want. It's not there yet, right? And yes, by the way, you can pet the piggy. I know. So again, we gotta look for the right unlocks, and we're gonna work through this. For now, it's not too much of a problem. I'm gonna let this run, right? And while it's doing that, because we're gonna look at our unlocks here. So what do we got? We got variables, right? This one's unlocked. Senses. The drone can sense what's under it and where it is. I wonder if that's got anything to do with what we need for our, what we want to do here. Well, we're gonna unlock it and let's find out. Well, dang, look, get ground type. Yeah, that's exactly what we want, right? And again, you can read through this and find examples, but you've probably figured this out, all right? So what we're going to say is, look, hey, if the ground type is equal to, and it's grounds dot grassland, so if it is grassland, go ahead and till it. But if it's not grassland, it's just going to skip right over it. So we're not going to till it twice, right? Kind of an efficiency optimizer there, right? So you'll see what should happen is it won't toggle back to grass. It should just now be carrots and tilled land. See? Okay, again. This is, again, a lot of this scripting here is something you're going to use over and over and over again. But I want to go through this and sort of share what I've learned as we're going through and playing the game. But you know, that water situation is really sucking. So we need to generate more wood. Well, how can we do that? We can use trees. Trees give us more wood. And we have almost everything we need. We need 70 carrots. Well, okay, we could boost the rate of carrots here, right? Again, these are decisions you're going to have to make as you go, but I thoroughly recommend you boost all of these things as much as you can, as quickly as you can. We can also increase the speed of the drone. Well, that's not going to help us right now, okay? We can expand the size of the farm. That will help us, right? So that's something to think about. But we're so close to unlocking the yield of the carrots here. But we're also close to getting 70 carrots. These are choices you're going to make, right? And it doesn't matter which one you pick, really, because you can always get the next one next time. But you should be thinking about, what do I want to achieve? And what's the most efficient? Or how do I get there, right? And so for right now, obviously we're a long ways from 800 on the wood, right? But I can increase the carrot yield, which will get me to trees. But honestly, I'm going for the trees because we're there, right? Look, so I'm going to click the trees. Now here's the thing. Trees are a way better to get wood than bushes, but they come with a complication. They give me 5 wood for each one, right? But they got to have space around them. So, in other words, if I plant one tree next to another tree on one of the blocks, it's going to slow it. It slows the growth. You can see the growing time is doubled for each tree that is on a tile directly north, east, west, or south of it. This is where the challenge comes in, okay? So there is something we can do about this. And this is, again, a pattern. I'm basically building myself a very basic formula script to use throughout for everything, okay? So we can use this logic, right? And what I'm going to do is we're going to do this, right? I'm going to replace bushes at this point because trees will give me more wood. It's not to say I'll never use bushes again, but I can't have a tree here and here, or here and here. And this one here, if it's got one either side, I mean, it's going to take forever to grow. Let me show you what I mean by that, though, because I want you to understand, right? So instead, we're going to say, change this to a tree, right? Watch what happens. Starts out great, but it will slow down. See, that one's slower because the tree next to it, okay? And then this one's slower because of the tree next to it. And then next time around, this one, well, it's, you know, you got trees either side right now. So it's, watch how slow, look, ridiculously slow. So how are we going to do this? Well, this is where the fun of gaming and programming come together here, right? The answer is, what I'm going to do is have a tree here, a tree here. I'm not going to have one here, but I can have one there. Well, how do we figure that out? Well, we already know the solution, right? But it's not going to work for us quite as we've got it here. Because what's going to happen is we could say, oh, well, when you get here, just replace this. Instead of planting grass, plant a tree. Well, we can't do it just in the script here like this because that'll change every single one of them, right? But there is something we can do about this. We could go into, and this is, because I've not unlocked some of the things I want, I got to make an inefficient script here, right? And I can say, well, you know, if J equals 1, then plant a tree, right? Else, otherwise, if you're not planting a tree, just plant a bush. Plant grass, sorry. But that's not going to work for us either. Why is that not going to work? Do you know why? Chatting? We got what we wanted. It's putting one there, but look, it's putting one on every row. Well, that's not cool, right? So let's see what we can do here. How can we sort of hack this a bit to make this work? Well, we could say, instead of if J equals 1, right? We could say if J divided by 2 equals 0, plant tree. Otherwise, do that. What does that give us? Well, not quite, right? But let's play with some things. And I'm showing you this because I want you to understand that part of the fun here is experimenting and playing with this stuff, right? So we're still not getting there. But let's go back. Look at our documentation, right? We have these operators, right? So how do some of these work? Well, look. All right, let's go down here. If 4 divided by 2 evaluates to 0, 5 divided by 2, it's not even. It evaluates to 1, right? So remember we've got that print command? Well, we could do this. Tell you what, tell me what's going on here. What is the value of J at this point? But we can't do it because we haven't got the debug. All right, that's cool. Where's our debug? All right, let's hunt around. Where is it? Where the hell is it? It's not where it was. Hang on. We got our print command. We've got to find the bloody debug. I used to be on here. Hang on. Sorry, I just hadn't clicked on it. We can do breakpoints. For programmers, you know what a breakpoint is, right? I'm not gonna get into it. It's right. You can put them in the gutter here. But look, it's printing J. See, and how cool is that? I mean, what? Wouldn't you want your IDE to have like print these values like this in floating clouds? Look, 1, right? J is 1 here, okay? So that's, I mean, we're close, right? We can say if J equals 1, well, that's the middle one, right? But what we need to do here is say, okay, if, and again, this is some, you know, you got to work through this and unlock things, right? But, so let's try this, right? So what I've done here, you can see your nesting, right? This is horrible code right now. But until we can unlock some of the things. Stays as grass, right? So let's follow some logic. Let's do this. Right, and see how that's still not working for us. You're going to reach a point where you're going to say, you know what, okay, maybe I need to rethink my whole layout here, right? And so let's do that. Let's get this, right? This one needs to come back. Let's try that. Well, still not doing it, right? So let's follow our logic here, right? I is equal to 1. Great, we're in the middle column. If I divided by 2 equals 1, let's get rid of this. Let's try that. Nope, still not doing it, right? But what is that? So again, let's ask it, right? Give me that value. Print out, debug that value for me. And this is a great way for you to work out your scripts. Right? We're not getting there, look, right? It's not printing this value. We have not unlocked variables, being able to define variables yet, by the way. So remember that, right? Okay, so 1. It's 1, right? All right, so what do we want to do? We've got a couple of options, right? We can either rethink our entire logic, which would not be a bad plan at this point, refactor it back and start again, or try to work with this. So what I wanted you to take away from this is, you know, our navigation is solid, but the way that we're doing this, it's really not working for us, right? So what I'm going to do is say, okay, you know what? I think my problem might be simplified as I refactor this, right? This is all happening if we can harvest. Well, that doesn't need to be a thing, right? For this. So let's start by bringing this back. Right? But does that work for us? because now we're going to do all of this over the top. Now remember, it's not really going to work for us, right? Because even if we can harvest, it's going to replace. So it's not going to wait for us. So at this point, you can say to yourself, you know what? This logic's really not working, right? So let's just do this. Let's go right back to the beginning, okay? If we can harvest. Either way, apply water. Water's never going to get more than one, right? Now, this will work great, right? If we want grass, it's going to work great for us, right? Okay. Well, while we've got all this grass, let's do some things here, right? What can we do? Well, we can expand the yield on trees. All right, that's cool. Can we unlock some other things? Right? We could do this one. We don't have enough carrots. These ones need pumpkins and gold. Yeah, later on. All right. We don't have enough of that, but we are going to, since we've got this, we're going to increase the yield of our trees anyway, right? We should target watering next, by the way. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to say, okay, if you can harvest, then harvest. Now, after you have harvested, let's do it this way, right? We're going to go back, because again, I want you to get used to understanding how this all works, right? We're just going to print. What is this first one? I. 0, right? It's 0. Okay. But things are going weird on us already, okay? So, regardless of whether we can harvest, just tell me what I is. Right? But by the way, you can use pound in front to comment out a line. So I'm going to do that. But we know moving north and moving east is what we want. All right. Let's go right back. This loop here, like I say, is something you are going to use so many times. Right? Wait, which one did I get wrong? Hold on. That's not right. Actually, what's going on? Hold on a second. Something's not right here. Okay, we're moving north and then we're moving east. But it's actually passing over each one multiple times. I feel like I've actually forgotten totally how to do this. Hold on. So for I, let's do this, right? Moving across the first row. Great. J in range. Get world size. Essentially a square, right? It's always a square from here on out. Just so you know. There you go, right? Now, let's go back to our next. So that's just cool, right? If can harvest. So if we can harvest, harvest. Right now, all we're going to get. Oh, sorry. Sorry. My bad. Great. We are back to this. Fantastic. Let's start introducing our logic here. If J equals 0, plant entities dot tree. Well, actually, let's start with grass, right? Else, if J equals 1, plant entities dot tree. Let's run that. Okay, that's got us that line, but this sucks, right? So what are we going to do about this? Well, let's flip our logic here. Let's think about our logic differently, right? Instead of doing J, let's do I, right? What is that going to give us? I think you should know by now. Right? All we've done is flip it around the other way. So what we're going to say is, okay, if I is 0, and again, this is some nasty right now. So programmers out there, look away, right? We're going to say plant entities tree. Else, and we can just do else here because there's only going to be 2 options. Plant grass. What does that give us? Closer, right? But it's still not quite right, because the problem here is this is running even though essentially what I'm saying is it's running correctly on the first column, right? But the following column doesn't work great. It's not right. All right, let me run it again. And why is that? Well, this doesn't help, right? So let's do this a really horrible, nasty way. Worst code ever. If you're a programmer looking at this, you're going to be like, what the hell? What the hell, dude? Right? We've sort of solved it a little bit, right? But what I want you to understand here is this is where, so this pattern is not pretty. It sort of works, right? But again, there's this third row. Well, we're not doing anything correctly on the third row right now, right? But this is not the, I mean, this is just horrible, right? Look at this. We're repeating code, which is never a good sign, right? Even if it works, it's not a good sign. But it'll work for us, right? So I mean, that's great. We've solved our growing problem. But you know what? We can do something about this one here, right? Because that's really what we want. We really want every alternate one, and we don't want to have to figure out the numbers, okay? That's what we really want here. So what you can say is if I equals 0, right, we actually shouldn't care what column we're on at this point, is what I'm saying. We do when we introduce more than 2 types, but I want to solve this problem first because, again, this is something we are going to use going forward. Let me just check. Do I have enough yet for water? No. Okay, I just want to keep an eye on these numbers. And I'm taking this really slowly for the benefit of the stream so I can talk to it. I'll be honest. Like I say, I could just write the solution here, but I feel like I'm not giving you what you might want from this. But the blog post, by the way, has these examples that'll work for you. They essentially have the solutions. So, hey, run over to that blog post there. So what are we doing? All right, well, let's look at this again, right? So hang on. We've got the 3 lines of code that are the same. That's not cool, right? What does this do for us? Okay, cool. We've got rid of some code. It's looking good, right? But we're not quite there yet. But maybe we can take this further. What about if we do that? What's that going to get us? Right? And again, let's be verbose. Let's replicate it for now, for a minute. Nope, we're back where we started. But I think we can optimize this further, right? I'm gonna grab me a drink here. I'll be right back. But while I'm gone, I'm gonna let this run because even though this code is bad, as far as the trees are concerned, it's gonna generate resources while I go and grab a drink. I'll be right back, folks. All right, got some hydration. Hey, Roy. If my bandwidth holds together for a few minutes, let's look at that together. So, you remember I was saying how you can unlock more things. There's a get X and a get Y position, and those will give you the numbers. So, we could do this, right? Let me make a new script here and I'll show you. I'm gonna clear this out. Let's make a whole new script specifically for this. All right, so we'll just get rid of all of this. We can say, if I just print it, right, get posx. Actually, we should be able to do this maybe. Let's try that. Oh, maybe not. Hang on. It's going to print get posx, isn't it? Because I'm an idiot. It's a function. There you go, Roy. Does that answer your command? Answer your that will give you what you're looking for. That'll give you exactly what you need. I gotta watch my own stream here to see when it comes up. Yeah, you are very welcome. No problem. Always look to that documentation up there on the eye if you're like, wait, is there a way to do this? And have I unlocked it? You are very welcome, my friend. I'll keep going here, see if this stream's going to hold up for me. So let's get rid of that script. Maybe the bandwidth will play nice for a few minutes. Oh, no, I totally understand. I totally understand. That's what I love about this, by the way, is if you are not as... Oh, bandwidth.